Hi, I'll be going over some 3-turn loop farming teams with Parvati. I'll also go over a spreadsheet that I've linked in the description that can figure out what enemies your team works against. And at the end of the video, I'll compare Parvati to Valkyrie, who I made a previous video about. There are timestamps in the description. Parvati's skill 1 is by far her most important skill, so if you can only level up one of her skills, this is the one that you'd really want. Her skill 2 is a 1-turn attack boost that you'll generally want to use on the 3rd turn, and then her skill 3 is a 0 to 10% NP charge that has many uses that I'll go over later. Skadi's skill 1 and skill 3 are both very important. There's a lot of stuff that you can't do if you don't have these maxed, so try to get them to max as soon as possible. Her skill 2 is a nice skill to have at a high level for 3rd turn damage, but you don't need to level it if you don't want to. Standard Parvati looping teams only really differ on the 1st turn, so I'll go over this first one with the Kaleidoscope and Mages Association in detail, and then on the other ones I'll just go over the 1st turn. On turn 1, you should use the Mages Association skill 2 to reach 100%, and then use both Skadi quick buffs and Parvati's quick buff, and then NP. On turn 2, all you have to do is use a Skadi charge on Parvati, and then you can NP right away. On turn 3, all you really have to do is use a Skadi charge again and then NP, but you'll generally want to use all your defense down debuffs and attack up buffs and all that stuff. And then you NP. Instead of the Mages Association uniform, you can actually use any 10% NP charge Mystic Code as long as you have Parvati's skill 3 at level 10. You just use her skill 3 on the 1st turn, and then you proceed as normal. If you have an MLP Kaleidoscope, then you don't have to worry about NP charge on the 1st turn, and you can use any Mystic Code actually, but generally you want to use the Fragments of 2004 because it turns out to have the highest 1-turn damage boost. If you have Parvati's skill 3 at level 6 or higher, you can use an MLB imaginary element instead of a Kaleidoscope with the Mages Association uniform. All you have to do is use her skill 3 on the 1st turn, and then you go as usual. The last team is actually a group of teams that use the Chaldea combat uniform, or the plug suit as people call it, with Waver, and any 50% charge CE on Parvati. You should use all of Waver's skills on turn 1, and then swap them out for the other Skadi, and then use everyone's quick buffs and go on as usual. Berserkers are problematic for Parvati even at max skills. Against high HP Berserkers, she won't have any problem killing them, but she won't get enough NP refund for the next turn. If using Fragment of 2004, you can use its skill 3 this turn to get enough, or if you have Parvati's skill 3 available, you can use it next turn. If Wave 1 and Wave 2 both have high HP Berserkers and you don't have an MLB Kaleidoscope, then you can use the special team that I modeled after a Lancelot looping team, but you'll need a Kaleidoscope and a Waver. On turn 1, you should use Waver's defense buff and attack buff, and then Skadi and Parvati's quick buffs, and NP. On turn 2, you should use Waver's 30% charge, and then swap him out for the second Skadi, and then use that Skadi's quick buff and a Skadi charge, and then you can NP. On turn 3 you should use a Skadi charge, and then you'll usually need a Parvati skill 3, and then use all the attack buffs and defense down buffs and all that, and then NP. If everyone's skills are at max, this is the damage that Parvati will do on all 3 turns. It's possible to loop off the 2 enemies if Parvati's skill 3 is available. Against casters and raiders, as long as you kill them, you'll get an off NP charge, but against archers and similar enemies, you'll need at least 1 extra overkill hit from somewhere, and then for assassins and berserkers, you'll need more overkill hits. This spreadsheet that I've linked in the description is useful to see what enemies your team can work against. If you want to use it, first go to File and make a copy so that you can edit stuff. You can toggle skills if you want to see how that affects your team, and then here in the Servants tab you can change attack stat and skill levels and mystic code stuff and all that, and then into the CEs tab you can change the attack stat that the chart uses, and then you can also modify like the buffs that they give, so you could theoretically just test out any CE. And then the calculations tab is stuff you don't really need to look at. It's basically just calculations that I used, but you might be interested in some of the stuff here. If you have any questions about how to use it, feel free to leave a comment and then I'll help you out. I started off thinking that Parvati and Valkyrie are both very similar since they're both lancers and they have similar attack values, and they also both have a flat 10% charge each turn. In standard teams, Valkyrie has about 20% more damage turns 1 and 2, while Parvati has 5 to 10% more turn 3 damage depending on her CE. And Valkyrie gets more stars each turn, and Valkyrie is also much better against Berserkers. But Parvati's strength is in her options. She has way more CE choices, and she can use 70% and 40% charge CEs. And she also has more mystic code choices, and she can also loop off of just 2 enemies for a wave, which is much harder for Valkyrie to do. And Valkyrie only has 3 turn buffs, so she doesn't really have that many options. That's all I have to say. If you have questions, leave a comment and I'll respond. If I made a mistake or there's a bug in the sheet, please tell me. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.